We roll on with our latest issues in education. Our roundtable here, we welcome Dr. Damon Kazire. He's the superintendent from the Kirksville Public Schools. Andy Turgeon, superintendent, Knox County School District. And Dr. Jeremy Tucker, superintendent, Liberty Public Schools. We welcome all three, and the topic this segment is technology. And Dr. Kazire, when I talk about technology and your experience in being an educator and administrator, how much has that moved to the forefront now in 2016?
Well, I think it's really moving into the forefront. And one of the things that we're working on, because we do not have the quite the same technological advantages that Knox County and Liberty do, but we've recently doubled not only our bandwidth, but our wireless access, as well as gone to the, I think these guys are in a one-to-one situation. We just don't have the ability to provide that, but have gone to a bring your own device, trying to, get there quicker. But the part of for us is just having the technology is not necessarily the issue. You've also got to have the teachers who are willing to use it, and then you've got to give them the training behind how to effectively use that in the classroom. And so that's where we put a lot of money into technology, but now we're trying to take a backwards approach to that and make sure that our staff has that tools and training, to actually utilize it in the classroom.
Does the need for technology kind of butt up against funding, which is whenever we talk to any administrator, we talk about safety, we talk about curriculum, but we tend to always get back to money and not enough dollars. Is it harder, too, when we're talking about technology? Because that's not just a book you can hand a kid. These things aren't cheap.
No, they're not. But if you think about how much money you spend on textbooks, you're probably spending more money than you would on technology. So it's kind of, the first impression from a superintendent's like, we don't have the money to do that. But you kind of really have to take a creative approach to it and say, okay, when you see what you can do with technology as far as transforming learning, then you kind of have to prioritize and say, okay, how do we make this happen? And it's a different situation for every district on how that works. So you have to kind of go through your budget, see what kind of resources you have in your community, and start that conversation about, okay, this is something we want to do. How do we make it happen? Because it's not like you can just snap your fingers and say, okay, we have technology now. Let's make it happen.
And Knox County is close to Kirksville, right? Is that
That's
fair?
right. 25 miles east of Kirksville.
East of Kirksville, and Liberty would be northeast Kansas City. Jeremy, how about for you in your district there? How much is technology moving front and center right now in terms of the classroom?
Sure, and it's like Andy said, it's a matter of prioritizing, in that we use the phrase more often than not that we can do anything we put our minds to, but we can't do everything. And so technology integration in the classroom is pivotal, whether it's in trying to find the infrastructure to make it so, or changing the pedagogy so that it impacts students at their level. So we have a lot of progress going on as a one-to-one district, but really our focus is on instruction and how can we integrate technology to not only enhance kids' experiences, but really transform the learning process to develop the graduates that we need to be successful in life.
So the phrase, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, with teachers that have been doing this for a while, how much of a struggle is there to say, okay, we're going to change it up a little bit? It's not quite what is that a struggle at all with some teachers who've been there a bit?
Absolutely. First thing you get is, okay, this is the new thing, and it's cyclical. It's just not going to last. So, but it's not. It is the new thing, and it's not cyclical. It's, in everyday life. There's a lot of comments out there about digital immigrants and digital natives. Our students are accustomed to the technology, and it's something they're comfortable with. The teachers, on the other hand, a lot of them were not comfortable with the technology, so it's a challenge, and it's kind of one of those touchy, subjects where you have to be careful about making sure that the professional development's there, and kind of help lead them that way, because it is totally different. But
you almost have to teach the teachers in some instances, right?
That's right. So, but when you see it happen and you see it transpire, then it gives a whole new meaning to, you can always learn, you can always grow, you can always improve. So our teachers in our district have done a phenomenal job, and some of the teachers that have been teaching for years have really been impressive as far as taking this technology and just really doing great things with it. So,
what is, and I know we have a lot of different talking points, but I see something called blended learning. Now, what does that mean?
For us in Liberty School District, blended learning kind of brings a lot of the topics you've discussed this morning together, whether it's experiential learning, whether it's the assessment piece, whether it's the technology piece, but really tapping into the power of technology, access to information through the internet, and bringing that down to a student level or a learner level, in engaging students in assessing their voice, their choice, as well as the path that they want to take in terms of learning. And so blended learning is a combination of all those things. So the way we define it in our school district, it's some of the traditional components of the classroom in what works as far as instruction. It's also harnessing the power and leveraging the power of technology anytime, any place, anywhere. But then the third element is really engaging teachers and students in learning in the real world by tapping into community partnerships, by tapping into experiences outside of the classroom around real world problems. That's what blended learning is in Liberty School District.
And what about kids that want to get, I mean, they have their computers in front of them now, maybe their phones are even used. Technology is important in the classroom, but how do you keep them from getting on Facebook or tweeting or texting their friends? I've always wondered about that. That it wasn't there in my generation, but I wonder how, I guess there's some safeguards, but because I always joke at work, they tell us, okay, get on Facebook, and it's a work thing. So everybody now is sitting on Facebook. I'm like, are they working over there? Or how do you control them not goofing off?
Well, I'm not going to say that there's not several kids that don't do that, but at the same time, most of our students do appreciate the opportunity to be able to use their own personal device or our Chromebooks or whatever it is that we have available to them enough that they don't want to have that taken away. And so there is some, I guess, positive peer pressure on something like that of, hey, get off of Facebook. We can also, and I'm sure all districts do, you can limit what kids have access to, through the system if they're on your system. So there's several different things that you can do on something like that.
And a critical piece to the technology integration is the digital citizenship component. And that I know most districts that are embarking on this path have to take that into account right out of the gate, because of some of those naysayers that may say, well, you're going to create more problems than you're going to create solutions. But the reality of it is don't utilize that as an inhibitor, because in the real world, we're integrating technology almost every minute in the workplace. And so that's what students are going to experience later on in life. Let's equip them early on rather than identify those things and hold back.
And to add on to what Jeremy said, if we want our kids to be creative, innovative, and we keep putting barriers in front of them saying you can't use this, you can't use that, then you're causing a problem as far as how creative they can be. The second side to that, the digital citizenship. If we don't teach students how to use social media, for example, in a safe manner and appropriately, right now they're not getting that. So that's a problem. And so the schools is a place where we can do that part, and it's a great place for students to learn about what's appropriate, what's inappropriate, and how to use it to progress along. So it's really important that they understand that, because a lot of parents out there aren't accustomed to some of these social sites, and so it kind of brings it back to the district and gives us an opportunity, hey, let us teach them how to use it appropriately. And so that's part of, when you start using technology in the school, that's an important piece to it.
Ittner Architects, our hosts here, our latest issues in education. So let's talk about classroom design, something that they specialize in, and technology going hand in hand with that, where you don't have kids anymore just sitting in that, well, I just remember those chairs being hard as a brick, sitting there and your back straight up. How much of the classroom, and it's technology related, but is evolving, and as superintendents you have to kind of look at not just what they're learning, but how they learn.
One of the things with like the introduction of Google Docs, and there's probably some other things out there, is being able to share that information and having immediate access to it. For a teacher in the classroom, she can give an assignment, or he can give an assignment to the students, and because of sharing those documents, students can go home and work. They can work from McDonald's. They can work from anywhere, and gain that instant feedback, instant access from whoever's in their group And I'm sure that Dr. Tucker can talk better about that, because that's one of the major pushes that I think Liberty's got, and that truly I'm jealous of, and we're going to be working towards. So
The learning environment's key. And so there are times in our classrooms where we have opportunity for whole group instruction. But if we're truly personalizing that learning experience, you have to allow for spaces for kids to branch out into, whether it's small group instruction or individualized, where they're learning on their own through either a hard copy text or a digital text. So the learning environment matters. But think of the workplace. In the workplace, we're seeing more and more flexible spaces. If you're individually employed or you're a small business owner, maybe you spend a part of your time at Starbucks learning in that type of a lounge environment. If you're a college student, a lot of times you're spending time in commons areas. So we're trying to replicate that experience, but make it individualized for that learner in whatever learning need they might have.
I would think related to that, too, the teachers have to get used to it. They have to change their mindset, too, that the kids, not that they're laying in beanbag chairs, but it's not as structured as it used to be. Is that the other thing, too? You probably get the pushback from some of the teachers, too, when you're trying something new.
It is a shift, because teachers are used to, they need to be in a straight line, they need to be, it is a shift, because you're trying to promote collaboration. Well, you can't have collaboration if everybody's in a straight line or everybody's doing the things that we used to do. So there's a trust element there, and I think that's an important piece when you go to embedding technology fully to transform learning. There's a trust piece that has to go between the teacher and the students. Walking in a school district, you may see some students sitting in a hallway, sitting in a classroom. They're going to be all over the place, and it's going to look so non-traditional. And that has developed from trust, and that's a important piece. Because it is totally different. If you want to individualize that instruction and you want to create a collaborative environment, those spaces are important for all that to happen.
Andy Turgeon, Superintendent, Knox County School District. Also Dr. Damon Kazire, Superintendent, Kirksville Public Schools. And Dr. Jeremy Tucker, Superintendent, Liberty Public Schools. Gentlemen, thanks for being here, and thanks for taking part in our round.